Welcome, Tom, to the Mighty MERP podcast. I look forward to us talking today about the Veterans Diversionary Program, as well as the amazing CLE that we coordinated together. But before we jump into the Veterans Diversionary Program, I was hoping if you could introduce yourself and maybe give a little origin story of began and where you are now.
It goes back to 1988. I joined the New Jersey Army National Guard, enlisted as a private. Then, after a different series of positions, I ended up as a JAG lawyer. And then, while I was serving as a JAG lawyer, ended up in the New Jersey Army National Guard. After a number of assignments, I worked in the Physical Disability Agency office in an Army assignment. My last Army assignment was with the Physical Disability Agency for military guys who were injured mentally or physically. And so it was clear that Reserve and Guard military personnel were not really getting fair shake. And I felt like I was being called to open up a law firm, which ran counter to everything I wanted to do or thought I should do in life. Happened to be unemployed at the time after going to Germany on a very exciting tour. And then hung out a shingle, and it's 10 years that we'll be celebrating the same weekend as the CLE. So we're trying to get some of the band back together for Saturday night at the formal that they're having at the Atlantic City Sheraton, and then Friday I get to see you and the gang.
Yeah, and so we jumped right in, so I'm going to now backtrack. How long were you in the military for?
About 30 years.
Wow. Okay. And you and I connected recently, and as you know, I'm president of the Atlantic County Bar Association, and Atlantic County has a thriving Veterans Diversionary Program, very supported by our presiding judge, Judge Delory, and he connected us, and we are having a CLE on the Veterans Diversionary Program in New Jersey. And it's really on veterans' wellness and health. It's beyond just the diversionary program. And we're doing that on March 8th, which is a Friday. And then on Saturday, there is an event that is a National Guard event, correct? So we have a whole weekend focused on military and our veterans.
Not really sure who will be there, but a bunch of National Guard people who I know over the years will be there anyway. And they're doing the event. They keep it at cost. So it's not going to be the best food, or I don't even think it's an open bar. But it's a decent opportunity to get my team together because we're all virtual. I left New Jersey, as you know.
So let me ask you, you said that 10 years ago you started your law firm, and it really wasn't what you were expecting. What type of law were you expecting to do when you left JAG or the military?
So they overlapped. The resume gets very disjointed because while you're holding a job, so when I was an Essex County prosecutor, for example, assistant prosecutor, I got mobilized to a gig in California, which immediately became a new set of orders to Fort Bragg, and then Romania, and then Iraq. So I spent over 2 years out of Essex County Prosecutor's Office on leave, military leave. And so when I took the Germany assignment, I had left a private practice with a fellow up in Essex County. And so that ended up being 2 years, a year at Fort Dix and a year in Germany. And so I thought I was coming back to a new government job, but it didn't work out. So I had to figure out what comes next when you're, I guess, 43 or so, when obviously the firm's 10 years old, so the math's not too hard. And so I thought I was going to be a criminal defense lawyer primarily, and it turns out there's a really big market for military advocacy for disability, men and women who get hurt while on duty, and then those who get hurt on duty but discharged without the appropriate benefits want to go back and revisit it. And there's an Army Board of Corrections and a Board of Corrections for Naval Records, and the Air Force has a Board of Corrections. So you can go back and ask these administrative agencies to correct the record.
So when you opened up the law firm 10 years ago, was it handling criminal matters as well as military, and then just morphed into the military, or did you just from the start really end up representing veterans?
Yeah, having been a prosecutor for 9 years, I expected that, I knew that criminal law was, pretty competitive. I wasn't really setting out to be a criminal defense lawyer. I wasn't turning away those cases, but I don't think I had a misconception that it was going to be a difficult challenge in Union County, Essex County, to carve out a criminal law practice. And so the real, motivation was to serve military and veterans. I don't think there was no military diversion law, and I was able to play a part in that in the Bar Association. So credit to them, not to me. Without the Bar Association and the president at the time, Bob Hilla, there wouldn't be a diversion law, in my opinion. But I happened to be the chairman of the Military Law Veteran Affairs section at that time. I'm going to try and get you to join that section too, Melissa. And they did, we're in the right place at the right time and spent a lot of time working on it, not paid. But, a bit of a legacy, I suppose, is being able to say I played a part in getting that law passed. And, we went to Trenton a couple of times, certainly learned a lot about the process. So I forget what your exact question was.
I think my question was more about the law firm than, whether the focus of the firm was always with military and veterans. But that does springboard into your involvement in the State Bar Association and the Veterans Diversionary Program statute that was enacted.
Yeah, so the firm has kind of taken a life of its own. Joining the Bar Association was not something in the plan, but I probably would have not thought to do that. But they had a military law section, and I joined that and orchestrated getting in the line of succession, just kind of like the county bar, to take the chairmanship. And that has become as you know, the Bar Association, they have a very powerful voice in Trenton.
They do.
I never got involved too much in the county bar associations, but I think the county bar associations are really key, Melissa, to the future of the diversion law. I think the state bar is as they say in the military, it's echelons above reality. And I think the county bar, with people like you and others who are in the trenches, who are mixing it up with the assignment judge and the presiding criminal judge and the various vicinages, I think that's where we have not been effective. And if Judge Delory and the work you're doing and the VA Justice Outreach Liaison is doing is going to be effective across the state, it's going to take that type of work. So I think we can hold the counties and vicinages accountable with the county bar associations more in the future than we have in the past.
So that's really interesting because, we have this Veterans Diversionary Program, and it's in the 2C criminal statute book. And, it's laid out. It is a county prosecutor's program. It's not considered a judiciary program. And all the counties' Veterans Diversionary Program is slightly different. If you go to each of the counties' websites, they each handle it slightly differently. And there's a part of me that I think from a county that has a very strong program that we can definitely be used as a model for other counties to replicate. But there is a part of me that thinks that there needs to be something more within this done with the state as a whole, so that the program is treated more like PTI, where it shouldn't matter what county you're in, whether you're accepted or not accepted, or whether you're being supervised well, or whether there's a judge of the program. We're one of the few counties that has a judge that meets with the veterans that are in the program every month to do a status and see how these veterans are doing on the program.
Well, the statute that the legislature passed and Christie signed in 2016, and I think it went effective in 17. It does.
I think you're right.
More than 2C. It does have the National Guard, Department of Military and Veteran Affairs, who has a responsibility, and they're supposed to train. Oh my God, I can't think of what it's called, but mentors. They're supposed to. The statute contemplates a mentor, and I don't know how effective Atlantic County is doing with that, but the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs has a responsibility, and Dave Culley, who's a former Hunterdon County assistant prosecutor and a former naval officer, and he currently works in Damava. He has these trainings for mentors. I just don't know how effective you're correct, without the state using a stick on the various counties, I don't think that the county prosecutors in particular, are doing a good job of recruiting, retaining, training mentors. And I think the mentors are very important.
Right. I mean, we're fortunate because our prosecutor's office has always supported this program, and they've been, very involved. Most of the prosecutors that have overseen it are either retired or still in the military themselves. And so, that's one of the reasons why I think Atlantic County has, all of those, all of it in place, including mentors. And they use their discretion. The statute says if you have a second degree, if you have violent offense, and they look at the cases individually. So they are really good about trying to work with veterans and getting them in the program. But I ask it from the state level first, because I'm sure you know this, that most states have a specialty court for our veterans, that it is run from the court. New York has it. I believe Pennsylvania has it. So I think it's great what we have for the counties that implement it. But I don't know. I mean, you do work with more military than I do, and I only work in South Jersey. So I guess my two questions are sort of, why don't we have that specialty court for our veterans? And then what counties, I mean, is it a strong program in North Jersey or Central Jersey? Because I only go up till I do all of South Jersey, but I don't really go past Ocean when I'm driving north.
I think Middlesex County and their first assistant, Chris Kubright, are extraordinary. So they're doing a good job. I'm hoping that Chris Kubright will come to the CLE. I'm going to talk to him over the weekend. Hopefully he's like me and he doesn't care about NFL football. So he, I think, works all the time, and he likes to call my office on a Sunday, and I don't work on a Sunday typically until nighttime when the kids are awake. So, of the counties in northern New Jersey, the only one that I know of, and it's not really northern New Jersey, is Middlesex, that has a established, credible veteran diversion program. I know Passaic had a good one because they had a lieutenant colonel named Jorge Morales, who has since retired, and I don't know what type of system he left in place, but if you called Passaic County, you'd get Jorge Morales, who's a lieutenant colonel. And so, unfortunately what's happening, Melissa, is like in Atlantic County, you have a lieutenant colonel, John Flammer, who is in the United States Army Reserve as a Jaguar, and you have a retired Navy Reserve judge advocate who's the presiding judge. Well, that makes it very easy. But if you don't have that, we can't really excuse those counties for not doing anything. Like I know Union County, they're not doing anything. I would bet that they haven't put a single case into veteran diversion. And I also wanted to point out, you mentioned about the various states and what type of programs they have. So I'm a bit sheepish to tell you and admit this, but so now we have, I'm admitted in New Jersey. We have an office in New Brunswick, but I opened up a new office and I live in Huntsville, Alabama. And don't judge me on that. So anyone who catches up with our program. So it's a thriving city. It's the home of NASA. More rocket scientists here than anywhere on the planet. But their diversion program is very moderate, right? And this is a military state. And even the veteran diversion statute in New Jersey, it really specifies nonviolent crimes, third degree, fourth degree, and disorderly persons and petty disorderly persons. And the prosecutors really have discretion to do whatever the hell they want. But technically, someone who gets a diversion with a second degree or a violent crime or domestic violence, they're technically not using the veteran diversion program. And so prosecutors in New Jersey have the ability, and they use PTI instead, I think. And what the states are doing, I mean, New Jersey was late to the game. I think we were the 41st state to, maybe more, 42nd, 43rd, to pass a diversion statute for military. And more of your expertise will be to see if that was a precedent for a mental health quote unquote court. The administrative office of the courts was very opposed to, and is still opposed to, specialty courts. And so Judge Grant has made it very clear that veteran diversion is not a court. He also has made it very clear that he thinks any judge can handle any type of case on any given day. And I beg to differ, but that's his position and he's in charge. So that's the way it is. But as you can see in Atlantic, without somebody who knows what they're doing, like Judge Delory, the program is going to probably languish.
Right. And I know I've been in other counties where I've applied clients to Veterans Diversionary Program. And in hindsight, it was the strangest thing because the prosecutor accepted it, the judge accepted it. And then when I asked my client, what he ended up doing for the Veterans Diversionary Program, it really was nothing. There was no support. There was no mentors. There was no meeting. It was less than probation in some ways. He was fortunate that he was able to complete the time without a need for a lot of services, but that's not really true with, many of our veterans. They need, the reason why they're in the criminal justice system is partly because of the mental health issues, trauma issues, and, prior to their service, they were law-abiding individuals, right? So usually they're in the criminal justice system because they need some sort of assistance or help.
Exactly. And that, the rationale behind the statute is, so this is more bean counting than you or I truly care about, but, the national organization who runs this is under the umbrella of National Association of Drug Court Professionals. They run seminars twice a year, national conventions for that monstrous lobby, the drug court people. And underneath them is this Justice for Vets, but I think they renamed it now All Rise. And what they'll tell you is that if veterans are struggling financially, they're in Medicaid, which is a county-run program, and counties love to get people out of Medicaid using the VA. So it's a cost-saving argument that you can use at the county level. And right, the veterans are supposed to be linked up with this monstrosity of a bureaucracy and healthcare agency of the VA. And so hopefully, if they need it, they're benefiting from that as well.
So recovery court is a specialty court, correct?
You'd have to tell me more about that.
Well, drug court, what was formerly known as drug court, now is named recovery court in New Jersey.
I guess it's in the court rules, so they got through. So that's a lot. I mean, that's a And you need so going back, that was implemented when I was a young assistant prosecutor. So, it's statutory, like the
It
veteran
is.
diversion law is. It's in the rule. I don't think veterans get in the rule book. They're not in the court rules yet. They probably should be.
They're not. I don't believe.
Yeah, no, I think
But
you're
they
right.
are in the 2C book, which is the criminal code for New Jersey.
Well, interesting to see how mental health court legislation, which if it passes and gets signed, helps or not the veteran diversion.
Right. Is that, I'm not, I mean, I know that the mental health court is in the pipeline, but is it looked at as a specialty court, or is it looked at as, I mean, my understanding was it was going to be parallel or similar to recovery court, formerly known as drug court.
Yeah, I think it appears, because I've heard the word court attached to it, that's the moniker that's being used. How that got past Judge Grant, I don't know, but it's fine with me. And I think that can only help. It's another tool for lawyers representing veterans. So,
I agree.
You have this mental health court option. Now you can present your veteran information in a more systemized way. So it's just another option for me, I think.
No, I think that most people who handle criminal law matters, whether you're working as a prosecutor or a defense attorney, involved in probation, you're in the court system, or you're a judge, you know that most clients that are in the system have either some sort of mental health issue, including drug or alcohol issues, and they need assistance in order not to come back into the system. I mean, very few people, contrary to what we see on Law and Order or CSI, or, they're not criminal masterminds. They're just individuals struggling.
Well, and so it would be terrible not to say that the statistics on these veteran diversion programs, the recidivism rates are negligible. And that's a credit not only to this system, but it's this credit to the people who are involved that this is aberrant behavior for them. And hopefully most of them are coming from a solid job background. They have a job and they have a family and they have a support network. And so this, exception and maybe linking them up, it's unfortunate, but a lot of the veterans are not historically using in any way the VA. So not only is there's two parts to the VA, as you know, there's the VHA, which is the healthcare hospital system, clinics, and then there's the VBA, which is coughing up all kinds of money to veterans who have service-connected disabilities. And so that's part of what our law firm does too. But, these veterans who are clearly injured mentally and or physically, and they haven't ever filed a claim, and they think that's for people who are really seriously injured and not for them. And so we oftentimes are helping them file their initial claim. We can't get paid for that. We just, point them in the right direction. So every county, I don't know if your VSO at the county level is very active, but every county usually has a bureaucrat on payroll, and their job is to assist veterans with their benefits. And they should be helping to file claims and handling appeals. So that's a part of what we do as well.
Yeah, I usually have my iPad out while I'm recording, which I'm recording on my computer, and then I would have typed that up to see who it was, but I did not do that. You started with the idea that VDP, Veterans Diversionary Programs, are really successful and with lower recidivism. And I was talking to Judge Delory earlier regarding VDP and the podcast, and he said the graduation rate, is, extraordinarily high in Atlantic County of veterans who have participated in the VDP. And I didn't write the number down, but I'm pretty sure that he said it's over 90%. I don't want to give the exact number, but that it was, most people who do the program are successful through the program, and they are provided with mentors as well.
That's the number.
So,
It's 90% across the board, or better. Very, very. Sometimes, even the low single digits of repeat offenses.
Right. So let's talk about this continued legal education course that we are offering at the Atlantic County Criminal Courthouse on. I'm checking the date because I had it wrong one time, but it's Friday, March 8th. And it coincides with the National Guard Association of New Jersey convention, which is in Atlantic City. So your brilliance of coordinating it all in the same weekend.
Well, I don't know about brilliance. It just happened to be with your help, knowledge on the ground, and contacts, and Judge Delory, and getting into the courthouse, which, the Bar Association at the state level was like, how much are we going to pay? And the county community college wanted $5,000. So, I think you get the credit for finding or suggesting the courthouse. And so that was a huge relief and a way to make it happen. It should be fun. And obviously added the happy hour at the Ton Tavern.
We're trying to get the Ton Tavern. I haven't put the announcement out yet. We're still coordinating, but it is 3 CLE credits for attorneys. And I'm really excited because we put together 2 almost separate panels. They're going to be back to back. And I know you're moderating the first one. I'm moderating the second one. Do you want to talk a little bit about your panel?
In Judge Lillard, Dr. Lillard's case, 5, almost 6 decades of experience with veterans with mental health issues. So
which is older than both of us, I just want to add.
Yeah.
He's had more experience than...
Yeah, almost combined. So Doc Lillard is going to come up from Savannah, Georgia. So we're working on his logistics. He's going to fly in on Thursday. So hopefully we'll get it. I've never met him. He's done countless expert reports for our clients to get benefits. And sometimes they are entitled to benefits and need a report from him, and he can validate their diagnosis. And sometimes he doesn't have a diagnosis for them, and that's good too. And so he likes working with us because I don't put any pressure on him to change his reports. If he doesn't, he's as good an advocate for a veteran as anybody or I could ever be. And so if he doesn't find reason to diagnose somebody, I'm certainly not going to question that because he's very understanding and compassionate. So he's going to come up, and he's really the highlight of the weekend. I've worked with him for 10 years. We have Zoom conferences with him regularly. I've only seen him on a screen. So he was going to come up with his wife, but it looks like he's going to come on his own. He's in his 80s now, but he's very vibrant. And then, so he'll speak. I'll share with you. Go ahead.
I didn't want to interrupt, but I don't think you said that he's a Vietnam veteran.
Yeah.
A neurosurgeon and a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw out his background, but sorry for interrupting.
No interruption at all. He and then I wanted to just share about Dr. Cynthia Lischek, who's very sharp in her own right. And so she worked for years with the New Jersey Army National Guard and Air Guard, and she was the contractor who served the general and the patients who were in the Guard. So when the Guard was regularly deploying on a constant, continual basis, they had her on the staff, and so that gig ran out, and so she has maintained, and through that time she had her own practice. So I think she's writing a book, and she'll probably tell us about that. And what I'm going to have them, speak about. I was actually at the Vets for Justice conference one year. It was in Maryland, and there was just a jaw-dropping PowerPoint slide presentation by a VA doctor on something called adverse childhood experience, which was a VA commissioned study after Vietnam. And there's always this question as to why can men and women be subject to the same combat environment, and some of them thrive when they leave, but some of them don't. And so just one of those moments in your life you never forget. But I was standing along the back wall and mesmerized by this. But the adverse childhood experience relates that in very measurable, defined, easy categorized statistics, those who have been subject to child abuse or witnessed domestic violence in great numbers are the ones who are going to suffer mental health effects, ill effects from combat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to ask the two doctors to really, maybe use that as the basis of their discussion with the group, because I think it's just really, I don't know, it's chilling to me, right? Why these men and women who have already had trauma, who are then re-traumatized. It's like concussions, right? If you've had a concussion, the next one will have much more severe effects. And so if you've had mental health trauma or stress, PTSD, or you've had depression, those future traumatic events are going to have a much harsher impact. So that's what I hope to do with those two.
Okay. And then we do have I like to call him a surprise guest. He's not really a surprise, but
I've asked him not to come. I've asked him not to come because, as you know, I think we're remiss here. We have maybe Justice Michael Noriega's first ever public speaking event. Justice Noriega was recently appointed to the Supreme Court after being in private practice and hustling like you and me, more like you and me than you know. He was my early mentor when I started 10 years ago. He's of Peruvian descent, and I had a great lunch with him in year one, eating ceviche at a restaurant name I'm going to forget, but it's out of business these days. And so, a real down in the trenches public defender, you'll love that, in Essex County, who then went into private practice with Senator Bramnick. Justice Noriega has graciously agreed to come to Mays Landing Courthouse, and that's got to have the judiciary excited. So your assignment judge is coming, and we'll introduce Justice Noriega. So for me, it gets better and better, right?
It does. And, it's always nice when I always say little South Jersey, little Atlantic County is, remembered that we're here and that we're having, I think, probably pretty monumental CLE that we're organizing. And, as somebody who's, obviously very involved in the Bar Association and have been for years, I'm very excited to be part of the CLE and to be able to have the panel that we're having talk. I look forward to seeing
our president there too. It's our next objective.
I know. I think Tim's going to be there. I think he's going to make it. Don't you?
We'll see. I haven't talked to him, but you probably know him better than I do these days. But you're a president, so you presidents talk to one another, So you should pick up your phone and just chat him up.
Chat him up. Give him a call. And then for the second portion of the CLE, we have Judge DeLury, who, as I said, is the presiding judge of Atlantic County Criminal Court. He's a retired captain and of the Navy and a JAG officer. And, he's very committed to veterans and the Veterans Diversionary Program. And you mentioned John Flammer, who is at the prosecutor's office. And I have to go look at my notes. Did you say he's a lieutenant colonel? And one of the nicest people in the world. So generally, and I'm sure there will be a lot of people from the prosecutor's office. And as I said, Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office, from the beginning has been all in on this program. And then we have Jake Sanders, who works for the VA, who is also extremely involved and works with our veterans that are in the VDB program. So I think that it'll...
In seats, Melissa. We got to fill the place. Got to make it an event.
Asses in seats. Well, I know I'm...
Prosecutor's office, they got a lot of people. If they force them to come, that'll fill half the place. No standing room
Yes.
only. That's the goal. Nothing less.
Well,
Turn
I'm
them away at the
promoting it
door.
down here. I'm promoting it down here. Hopefully, throughout the state, we'll get ripples of excitement. And, you know, I guess I would say, the attorneys that that are military, let me know. I'll start shooting emails to them too and have them, anyone coming to the National Guard convention that's there that weekend. Hopefully, we will have people from all over the state because I think we've both talked about the fact that this program is a program that should be strong in all counties that we have in New Jersey. And it would be nice for the counties that might not have a strong program to see what we've done here to be able to, mirror it in the future.
Yeah, and hopefully, what I'm going to do, I'm going to return this to my priority list, is when we were working to get the law passed in the first place, we certainly made outreach to the first assistants and the prosecutors. So I have all those addresses in a spreadsheet. So we're going to mail merge and hit all those first assistants to see if we can't entice them to come down on a Friday afternoon. What the hell else are they doing,
It's Atlantic
what
City.
we do,
There's
what
stuff
we
to
do,
do after.
if we were any good, we would have had the prosecutors have a monthly meeting. Maybe it's not too late to have them meet in, we got to work on that. If they haven't had their
it's still a month away, so we
I
might
know.
still be in on it. And then, as you mentioned, we are organizing an event afterwards. So anyone who does travel, they'll not only get 3 CLEs, but an opportunity to network with attorneys throughout the state.
I think
And we're
play here, and this may work. Maybe Atlantic County has the prosecutors meeting in March. Wouldn't that be fun?
well, I will reach out to the prosecutor and the first assistant to see if they will share it, discuss it. If they want anyone, let me think, the vice president of the Bar Association is a prosecutor, and I'm going to reach out to him and see if he will. He has a nice title of deputy, first assistant deputy, I believe. So I think he's the third in charge. So I will reach out to him and see if we can get that on the radar. How do you know when the prosecutor meeting is? Okay.
Once a month. Because there was a bunch of them who were really instrumental with this law. Joe Coronado was in Ocean County in 2017, and Sean Dalton was in Gloucester County in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I actually reached out to both of them to see if they'll show up. They're both back in private practice now, and Prosecutor Dalton is at Cooper Levinson, that monster.
I was going to say, I know Sean Dalton, and we've worked together on cases sometimes together and sometimes as adversaries.
Squeeze him into joining us as well. I've reached out to him, and I've reached out to Joe Coronado, who's super. And there's not too many the suspects still in office from then. The rotation has been fast and furious. So anybody who I worked with, I've tried to reach back to them and have a little reunion. What the hell? It's been 5,
there
6
you go.
years now.
So I will definitely reach out to Sean and make a personal invitation. And as soon as we firm up what we call it in Atlantic County, we do a monthly event. It's called a Bar at the Bar event. It's a networking event. It's usually free to anyone who attends. If you want drinks, you have to buy your own drinks, but we usually have someone sponsor it. So there's some food and appetizers. And that's what we're doing on March 9th after the CLE. We're tentatively hoping to be at the Tun Tavern, which is in Atlantic City. And it's close to where the Sheraton is as well. So making it as convenient for everyone who's coming down and staying.
Thank you for all that and everything else. It's been very nice to get to know you, Melissa, and you got all kinds of things going on here with your MERP. What do we call this? The MERP Video Studio.
Right.
Is that Melissa? The E stands for, and the R I got That's the P. P's your
So,
maiden name?
married name. Yeah.
And
So it's Melissa Elaine Rosenblum Pizzetzner. I don't use Pizzetzner anymore. I'm no longer married, which I think everyone knows that. Not a secret. But when I got married and my initials were MERP, I had friends and my sister just started calling me MERP, and it stuck. And so, when you listen to this amazing podcast, it is on the Mighty MERP is the podcast because I'm so mighty.
not too many
Yeah.
lawyers that are spending time on the podcast. So hopefully all your clients.
I know, but I get to talk to interesting people like you, and I get to talk about things that I like, and I get to hear nice stories or interesting stories. So before we wrap up, I know you're not prepared for this question, but I do have a segment also called Crazy Courtroom Stories. So before we leave, can you think of one story that's a crazy courtroom story that tell and is entertaining?
Yeah, that's a good one. I've got a number of them, but the one that just immediately comes to mind is out of Essex County Courthouse. My dad has been a foreman on numerous criminal juries, so you wouldn't want my dad on our cases. So you're in Union County, and there's an Irishman and you're foreman in the number one chair. You got to get rid of him because it could be my dad. And so he was a foreman in Essex County at the time, and the new courthouse, which has got 13 or so floors, and he's a hanging jury, and they convicted a guy for murder. And so this story is legendary around Essex County, but none of my friends knew. In fact, Dennis Cleary's dad was the defense lawyer. If you know Dennis Cleary, he was a very accomplished defense lawyer, and his father was Jack. Jack Cleary was the defense lawyer on this case. I get chills telling this because Jack is now dead, but he was legendary. Upon conviction, the defendant, now convicted, jumped out the window thinking they were on the first or second or third floor. I don't know, but they were really high up. And he met his demise jumping out the window upon conviction with my dad as the foreman. So that was long before my time. So how about that?
That is a crazy court story. And it wasn't even your court story.
No. So now I got to reach out to Dennis and refresh my recollection on the facts, and I'll copy you, and you can meet really one of Essex County's best criminal defense lawyers, who's now partnered up with John McMahon, who was Essex County Deputy Public Defender, and whose father was a federal public defender. And so they have their own little office. They share space. And you can get to know two of the greatest Irish drinking McGovern's pints of Guinness guys that there are. When you make it up to Essex County one day, they'll show you the ropes.
Well, I look forward to it. I don't know if you know this. I am a North Jersey born and raised in Passaic County.
Is that where our girlfriend Geraldine is from too?
Yeah, so we both grew up in Wayne.
Suburb.
We played soccer in middle school together, and then she went to Hills and I went to Valley. So North Jersey person who ended up down in South Jersey, right by the ocean. So not a bad place to be.
No, I've never had the pleasure. But we work with a guy, James Fitzpatrick, who's a Villanova, PA lawyer. So he's coming, I think, Friday for the CLE on the 8th. And his parents own a house, so he's going to make a little trip out of it. So you get to meet James Fitzpatrick as well. Very nice man.
Sounds like I'm meeting a lot of Irish.
Yeah, we're kind of discriminatory in that way. If you can't hang at the bar, Melissa, we don't really have a lot of time for you.
There you go.
There you go. I can't do it anymore, but I've earned my spurs, so I get, grandfathered into the drinking club. But I've spent my fair period of time in Irish pubs. I've never drank with James Fitzpatrick and never met him in person either, so this will be an opportunity for us to all get together. In fact, I got to remind him that I want him to come more on Saturday night and Friday, but hopefully he'll do both. He's got young kids.
I understand.
I hope I didn't bore you to tears, Melissa, but that's about it, I guess, huh?
No, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your help in organizing the CLE. And,
Bravo to you.
I look forward to also meeting you in person, which I have not done either. We've only talked virtually. And look forward to a great CLE and a great weekend.
You got to get the general to show up now, Melissa. Let's work on that.
Is that me or you, though?
Well, we got to figure it out. That's the best way to entice her. Our new 2-star adjutant general, first ever female of the New Jersey Army and Air Force National Guard.
Well, maybe I sent a formal letter, maybe a more personal letter.
Yeah, I don't know why we're getting the cold shoulder. But
maybe she just hasn't seen it yet. Maybe she's busy and hasn't seen it on her desk. Sometimes that happens.
Promoted from 1-star to 2-star, so she's been in the news, and she had to meet the governor and do all that. So we'll have to figure out whether you want to follow up on the email I sent, or I'll send another email, or maybe try to reach out to her by phone. She's very nice.
I have some ideas, but I'll follow up with you not on the Mighty MERP podcast on that. All right. Have a great weekend. Have a nice time, and I will see you soon.
Thank you for the invite.
Thank you.